What's up, beautiful image bearers? It's me, CA3, and today we're taking a look at Matthew 8, verses 18 through 22. In these verses, Jesus teaches us some very important things about discipleship that everybody should know prior to following him. So we see a contrast of two extremes in terms of people who want to follow Jesus. The first is an over-enthusiastic follower, and the second is a hesitant follower who puts other things before following Jesus. So starting with verse 18, we see when Jesus saw great multitudes about him, he gave a command to depart to the other side. So at this point, Jesus is increasing in popularity, but he's not really interested in following the crowds or trying to, continue to make the crowds bigger and bigger. It's almost like he was trying to avoid these great multitudes that constantly found their way to him. So he's met by a young scribe who comes up to him and says, "Teacher, I will follow you wherever you go." And it seems like with the miracles that were associated with the ministry of Jesus, following him might have seemed way more glamorous than it was. Charles Spurgeon puts it like this: "I wonder if this man thought, well, now I am a scribe. If I join that company, I shall be a leader. I perceive that they are only fishermen, the bulk of them, and if I come in amongst them, I shall be a great acquisition to that little band." Maybe even thought he'd be the secretary. Perhaps he may have thought that there was something to be made or to be gained out of such a position. So essentially, the man is trying to follow Jesus, but he's trying to do it for the wrong reasons. He's getting caught up in the supposed glamour of Jesus and the physical manifestations he's doing on this earth, so much so to the point that he's missing the deeper spiritual implications behind everything Jesus is doing. So Jesus answers him and he says, "Foxes have holes and birds of the air have nests, but the Son of Man has nowhere to lay his head." And so Jesus doesn't flat out just tell the man, "No, you can't follow me." What he does is he tells him the truth. He pretty much dashes this man's expectations that following him will be a glamorous life, or that even the work they do is going to be all about signs and wonders. And unfortunately, this is kind of the opposite of a lot of techniques that get used today by many, preachers and teachers, especially the more famous ones that we see. Basically, those who appeal to more of a seeker-sensitive crowd. Jesus did not want this man to be ignorant of just what he was getting himself into if he chose to follow Jesus. He wanted him to know what it would really be like. And it's not that Jesus was just straight up broke. It was that he was homeless. The nature of his mission kept him on the move and would also keep his followers on the move. It wasn't going to be a comfortable thing. And so the reason that this man turns away from Jesus was because Jesus lived a very simple life, and he lived a simple life by faith. He was trusting his Father for every need and without reserve or an abundance of material resources. And technically, this is the kind of thing that would make Jesus more attractive to someone who's truly seeking, not somebody who's just trying to get something out of him. The way the man should have thought is, here's a man who lives completely by faith and is satisfied with just a few material things. I should follow him and learn from him. We don't follow Jesus because we expect him to do miraculous, amazing things on this earth. No, we follow Jesus with content spirits and hearts, like Paul in Philippians 4, simply because we know the greatest thing that Jesus offers isn't what he can do for us on this earth, it's what he did on the cross. And in turn, we should be okay with living simple lives where we try to impact those around us by also sharing that same gospel with them, so that ultimately they can understand the value, the true depth of Jesus and what he did for us. But now moving on to verses 21 and 22, we see Jesus speaking with the hesitant follower. And so this person says, "Lord, let me first go and bury my father." Now let's be clear, this man is not asking to attend the funeral services for his dad. He wasn't asking for permission to go and dig a grave for his deceased father. What he was really asking was to actually go and remain in his father's house and care for him until his father died. Essentially, his dad was on his deathbed and he wanted to go and be a caretaker for him. Now, this request was not a bad thing in and of itself, but the issue is that it was obviously going to be for an indefinite period of time. And so basically, the man's desire to follow Jesus and his actual action behind doing it would be put on hold for who knows how long. It says that this man was another of his disciples, yet he did not follow Jesus as he should have, nor as the 12 disciples did. And so what this shows us is that the term disciples has somewhat of a broad meaning in the Gospel of Matthew, and so it has to be understood in that context. This, of course, was not one of the 12 disciples. They gave up everything to follow Christ. This was just someone else who apparently had been following Jesus since he was preaching and going to these different areas and had started to move toward completely following following him, but was still kind of being held back by some things. So essentially, the man wanted to follow Jesus, but not just yet. I mean, he clearly knew that it was good and that he should do it, but he felt that there was a good reason for why he couldn't do it now. And so basically, if the scribe from earlier was too quick in making a promise, this disciple was too slow in performing. And so again, we see this contrast with two different extremes. The person who's following Jesus for the wrong reasons and claims that they're ready to live the life that he requires. And then we see the person who honestly has a desire to follow Jesus, but at the same time is too concerned with the things of this world and trying to make sure things are in order before they do it. Don't hesitate when it comes to Christ. We have to follow him while we have the time to do so. This man's indefinite period of time to spend taking care of his father is not promised. So Jesus makes it clear when we follow him, we have to do it with a sense of urgency. We don't know if we have tomorrow. All we have is this moment. Give your life to Jesus. So Jesus says something here that some may take as him being insensitive, but he says, follow me and let the dead bury their own dead. Jesus pressed the man to follow him now and clearly stated the principle that family obligations, or any other obligation for that matter, must not be put ahead of following Jesus. Jesus comes first. And here's the thing, Jesus was not afraid to discourage potential disciples. It's not that he didn't want people to follow him. It was that he wanted them to know exactly what they were getting into by doing so. And unlike many, modern evangelists and preachers, he was interested more in quality than in quantity. So yeah, Jesus was really just being honest here. This is exactly what it meant to follow him, and he wanted people to know that from the beginning. It wasn't some empty promise of what he would do for them or how he would make their lives better on earth. He wanted them to know that following him would be a hard thing, a fulfilling thing, an eternally rewarding thing, but it would not be an easy thing. And it wouldn't be easy because it goes against our own self-interest at times. It goes against our own comforts a lot of the time. And so I feel like Spurgeon wraps it up pretty well. He says, much of the concerns of politics, party tactics, committee meetings, social reforms, innocent amusements, and so forth may be very fitly described as burying the dead. Much of this is very needful, proper, and commendable work, but still only such a form of business as unregenerate men can do, as well as disciples of Jesus. He says, let them do it, but if we are called to preach the gospel, let us give ourselves wholly to our sacred calling. So it's not that Jesus doesn't understand that we still have physical needs and things to take care of, but again, one of my favorite scriptures, Matthew 6:33, talks about this idea that the Father knows what we need before we even ask for it in the verses prior. But in verse 33, it gets to the point of, if we seek first the kingdom of God and his righteousness, everything we need will be taken care of. Jesus will never allow our human concerns to get in the way of our ability to live for him. Therefore, we don't have to worry about the concerns of the world, because if we're focused on him, he's going to take care of everything we need. But also, we can't wait until we're in a comfortable place in life to fully follow him and give our lives over to him. So each and every person needs to count the cost of following Christ. And if you're listening to influences from preachers or teachers who are constantly harping on the good things that Christ wants for you and how he wants to make life better for you and living your best life now, understand that that is not supported by the Bible. There's a reason why we all look forward to one day hearing the words from God our Father, well done, good and faithful servant, because the life of following Christ does require a level of supreme faithfulness. It is going to be hard. Jesus himself said, in this life you will have trouble, but it's okay because he's overcome the world. And that is our hope. That's where we place our faith in, knowing that this place that we're in now is just a temporary housing for where we ultimately plan to be. And that's with Jesus in heaven one day. God bless you. I love you, and peace.